Hello everyone, it's Dr. Connor
And Dr. Victoria
with Tree of Life Chiropractic, and we are here to give you the second video in our stress series, all about the nervous system, specifically how the nervous system starts to create anxiety, depression, ADHD, or attention problems when it's under stress. And the reason why we're so excited about this video is because it is about the brain, the central nervous system, everything like that, and as chiropractors we're able to actually influence it with our adjustments. We always nerd out about the brain, and especially when it comes to stress. The brain is where that stress response all starts. And in order to understand a little bit more about that, we're going to go a little bit more into the autonomic nervous system. So go ahead.
So there's two sides to our nervous system. We have the parasympathetic side and the sympathetic side. And the difference between the two is that the sympathetic side is that fight or flight response. That's where we are when we're stressed out, responding to a stressful situation, something like that. When we're in that parasympathetic side of our nervous system, this is what's happening when you're resting, digesting, sleeping, healing, growing. All of the positive things are happening more in that parasympathetic side. And naturally, throughout our day, we go through an ebb and flow between parasympathetic and sympathetic sides. But sometimes what can happen is that you actually get stuck in that stress response or stuck in that sympathetic side of your nervous system, which makes it really hard to activate the parasympathetic side. So that's things like when you're chronically sick all the time or chronically stressed all the time, or you have things like anxiety, depression, ADHD, stuff like that. That's usually a sign that your nervous system is stuck in that stressed out mode.
Yep. And when you have stress, you end up going through a few different responses. The first one is the primary stress response. And I got to do another diagram here. So you can see there's the stress coming in through the eyes and the ears. It travels down into the brain, specifically an area known as the amygdala. When the amygdala is signaled, it then sends signals to the hypothalamus, which then triggers the adrenal glands just above your kidneys to secrete adrenaline, otherwise known as epinephrine. And when that happens, physiological changes occur.
Yeah, so to heighten a little bit more of those physiological changes that are happening when we're in that stress response, I like to compare it as if anyone's ever had a panic attack or an anxiety attack, it's very similar to what's happening in that situation. So what's happening there is you're going to have things like your palms are going to get sweaty, your respiration rate is going to increase, heavier breathing, your heart rate's going to increase, your heart is beating faster to get blood to your muscles so that you can run away from that stressful response that you're enduring. The other things that are going to happen is your digestive system is going to take a dip, meaning it's not going to be working on digesting your breakfast if you're running away from a stressful experience that you're experiencing. Did I miss any?
Yeah, your senses are going to be sharper.
Your senses,
Yep.
Exactly. So your senses are also going to be heightened during the physiological response to that stressful
Because
situation.
you need to be able to bring all of that information in
Right.
and do something with it.
Yeah.
So then moving to when it becomes more of a chronic response, that's more the secondary stress response. That's after all of the epinephrine is through your system and that short burst of energy disappears. You start to go into that secondary stress response, and that has to do with the HPA axis. So if you look back at the diagram, that's the hypothalamus to the pituitary gland, and then back to the adrenals. And what this does is the pituitary gland actually stimulates the adrenals to produce cortisol. And that is that secondary response, that more chronic stress levels start to bog down the system because of the cortisol.
Yep. And when you're in more of that secondary stress response, that's usually when you start to see things like anxiety, depression, things like that are starting to develop because you've been stuck in this stressful loop for so long that now your body's actually changing itself because it has to adapt to all of the stressors that are coming in. So what we really love about chiropractic is that it works on breaking up that stress response and decreasing that stress response so that your body can get more into that parasympathetic side of your nervous system, which means you're going to grow, you're going to rest, you're going to digest your food, you're going to relax more, and just really overall calm down the nervous system, which is going to give you so much more peace of mind as well. So,
yeah. And big thing to remember on this too, stress doesn't only affect adults. Yes, we are always dealing with stressful environments, whether it's work,
relationships,
families,
kids,
yep.
all those things.
But then kids themselves are also taking in the stress, whether it's a stressful pregnancy to begin with, a stressful birth in general. But then you also start to get to the point where, like babies, for instance, if they're not eating properly, they're constipated, they're not sleeping. This is all creating that stress response as well. So being able to understand that not only you yourself are going through the stress response, but also your kids could be, it's something to definitely keep in mind.
Yep, so thanks for watching our nervous system video in our stress response series. Our next video is going to be talking more about how the stress response is affecting digestion. So if you're someone with IBS or chronic, issues in your digestive system, that video is definitely going to be worth checking out for you. So we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.
See you there.